I think grief is very personal. Your grief is not my grief, it's not another person's grief. But I think what's common to all of us who are grieving is that it is an experience that takes us out of our everyday life and forces us to find new tools to face the reality in front of us.
Okay, so what's your role exactly in the International Grief Council?
I try to bring and share my experience following the death of my 20-year-old brother, Michael. And I am somebody who is very grounded. I consider myself a skeptic. And I didn't believe in anything beyond this life, certainly not in the afterlife, before I've had some personal experiences following the death of my brother. And following these experiences, I've trained as a past life regression therapist and then as a life between lives regression therapist. And by sharing my experience, I'm hoping to bring some joy and some light and hope to those who lost somebody and are wondering if there's anything beyond this life.
Following the death of your brother, does it make you, do you still have a hint of doubt in yourself, or are you 100% sure that beyond this life there's something more?
As I'm a skeptic, and I'm still a skeptic, I need proof for everything. And my personal experience has led me to believe that this life is not the end, that there is something beyond this life. But what I say always to those who ask me is, don't believe what I tell you. Ask for your own proof. Seek your own experiences. And that is the only way you can be certain for yourself. Now, I have found my proof.
When you talk to people about grieving, how do they respond? Is there a common ground between their responses?
I think people are different, and obviously each experience of grief is different and each personality is different. But what I do find that is common to people who grieve and discover, perhaps for the first time, that there is a possibility of something beyond this life, is that suddenly their grief becomes lighter. And then they choose whether to explore it further or not, whether to say, oh, this is all nonsense, or to say, perhaps there is something beyond. But that moment when there's the realization that there is perhaps a possibility that something else exists, I think that does lighten up the grief load.
You mentioned you felt that your brother wasn't really gone. Well, what made you feel that way?
It is a knowing. It is some kind of, today I call it communication with the other side. But we all, or almost all of us, have at one moment or another this kind of knowing. But most of us, because society, in the Western world at least, doesn't believe in these things and it's not mainstream perhaps, people are worried about sharing their experiences. And I found that once I started sharing my experiences, so many people have said to me, yes, I never told anyone, but this has happened to me or that has happened to me. So I think that everybody at a certain point in their life has some kind of communication, and it's their choice if they take it further or not.
Well, one last question. Do you have any words of advice you'd want the audience to take with them?
I would like to encourage anybody who has lost a loved one to explore the many possibilities they have to cope with their grief, not to fold in on themselves, not to distance themselves from their loved ones and friends in this life and in the other. Because help is there for us if we ask for it. And it's not always that our friends and family know what to say in a situation of grief. But the more educated we are about grief and the more we share it with others, the easier it is to help those who are grieving.